So good morning. I think we get started, and I welcome you. And it's great to see you here after the fantastic dinner we had last night. Thanks again for the organizers. That was really fantastic. And I can understand if some watch this presentation now from their hotel room instead of being here in presence. So I welcome them also, everybody who joins us online. So can you pull up the first presentation? My short introduction. There is a first slide deck. Exactly. So today we want to discuss how we, in practice, align the activities for EOSC in a couple of countries. And we have also the task force on upskilling here to give their point of view of, what is necessary, what's the benefit of tripartite events, what in addition could be done. So, of course, the EOSC vision is very straightforward, I think. What we learned also during this week is that the implementation depends on a lot of factors in each country. And we have to notice that it's different in each country, the approach and the status where we are towards EOSC. So the EOSC readiness and the way forward are as individual as all the 43 countries. The number has to be updated under Horizon Europe. And I think it's very important to recognize that and to see that we move all together forward, but in each country we have to have specific actions in order to respond to the specificities of the research communities. So one aspect of answering to this need are the tripartite events, which are organized by the association together with the parties in the country. And you have seen already in several presentations, we had already a number of tripartite events. And today we want to take the look a bit from the ministry point of view and from the steering board member point of view. So, of course, when we compare, it's important that we learn from each other. We always say this with the use cases, with the best practices, but we shouldn't stare too much, right? I mean, something which might work fine in another country might not exactly work the way in your specific country. So most important is really the progress, not the state where you are at. So it's really the most important is that you define actions, that you have a strategy to advance EOSC in your country. So you can also, as you saw yesterday, the EOSC Observatory as a policy intelligence tool, which can help to identify and collect data for the continuous monitoring, and which also provides you then with use cases to get fresh ideas and to start discussions in your country, what in addition can be done to support EOSC. The implementation has to start at institutional and at national level. So what I mean there is we have, of course, all these discussions at the European level, but the real action is really with your research performing organizations, together with your ministries. You have to implement that. So the importance of exchange that's the national tripartite events, but I wouldn't only look at the tripartite events, right? A lot of countries have already established open science events. There's nothing wrong with integrating an EOSC part in the open science events you have in your country. So you also have to see in your country what is the saturation effect, how many meetings, how many workshops can you launch in the context of open science, in the context of EOSC. So also this has to be individual. So EOSC is not only happening when it's under the EOSC title. There are a lot of things, fairization of data, open access and so on, which are very important for EOSC and which are not necessarily in the context of a EOSC workshop or a tripartite event. And this, similar as we discussed yesterday at the commitment session, also the financing for EOSC doesn't always carry EOSC in the title. So that's also something to keep in mind. So today we have 4 presentations from Greece, from Slovenia, from Georgia, and as I said, from the upskilling task force. And afterwards we have time for question, answers, and discussion. So this session is just yet another opportunity to learn from each other. We have the national tripartite events to bring the stakeholders together on national level to advance EOSC, and it's important to align EOSC in your country, also outside the EOSC-labeled events. I think that would be my message for if you think of how you want to organize the events in your country. So you have to analyze the situation in your country, you have to set objectives, and then define actions and take it from there. So, thank you very much, and I would like to call to the stage Eleni Toli from Greece.
So, good morning. Very happy to be here on this last day of the very intense symposium, which I enjoyed very much, I have to say. Lots of discussions, and I have to say many very important discussions also in the corridors and in the breaks, and I think this is what makes this EOSC community so vivid and so interesting to join. I will tell you a few things about the EOSC developments and the open science developments in Greece. And I think that what Volker just presented could have been actually also a very good wrap-up of the whole, all the discussions about the national initiatives and the national efforts, as I really believe that everything that he presented is the way forward, and to look to each other, to learn from each other, but not to try to do exactly what others do. And this is important to keep in mind when talking about national efforts, keeping in mind that we work in a national context, and this context very much defines the way and the how we run our activities. So, okay. This is more or less the content of my talk. I will say a few things about how these open science activities and movement, some major milestones at the beginnings of this movement, then how the open science community self-organized and how this self-organization led to more formalized collaboration and the national initiative, what's the link with the digital, with the strategy for digital transformation, and finally, a few things about our national tripartite event. So, we consider this Greek Open Science Summit, which took place in 2018, November 2018, and I have to say, only 1 week after the official launch announcement of EOSC, we consider this as a major milestone, because it was a call to all open science actors in the country to come and to discuss for 3 days. We had more than 250 participants, and we discussed all aspects of open science in the country, but also how we can align these efforts and this on a research level and on a collaboration level with what is happening in Europe. We discussed about the web of fair data already back in 2018 and what this could mean for the Greek research community and the importance of strengthening more open science efforts in the country. This was actually what sparked the discussions about how to further continue in this direction, and this was what sparked the discussion and started to discuss more about we need a task force, we need a group of people who will collaborate on open science aspects in a more permanent basis. And this is how the Open Science Task Force has been created. The Open Science Task Force in Greece has been a truly bottom-up effort by Greek researchers mostly. And after the discussions in this summit, in July 2019, another major event where, again, many people had been invited, has been called with the main focus, let's discuss how we can set up an informal working group on open science. And there we presented, the participants presented national and European policies in relation to open science. But not only this, already in this event, a major goal was to define a common roadmap for setting up this task force and how this task force could work and how we could enforce or how we could introduce institutional open science policies in the country. This was something that by many people who participated in this task force had been identified as a major shortcoming that institutions, major institutions in Greece, where researchers actively supported open science, didn't have open science institutional policies. And so in this meeting, also a number of practical issues has been defined and agreed, which is very important, has been very important. So to set up this working group, what will be the members, what would be the procedures, and how all this activity would be coordinated. And then this led to the September meeting, where it was there the point where the actual working meeting started, and the group of people who had been defined in this previous phase sat together and decided these are the chapters of our roadmap, who is writing what, and how we are going to align all these efforts. So a remarkable bottom-up approach, I have to say. And the result of this approach is the National Plan for Open Science, which has been released in June 2020. It's a national plan that really summarizes all aspects of the research life cycle and how open science can be supported, I believe, not only in Europe, but it can be really useful for also other contexts and other countries. It's available on Zenodo. After having the plan, after having all this intense collaboration, we established the Hellenic Open Science Initiative. This is our NOSCI, our national initiative for open science. It was a natural evolvement of all this work and all this process. And actually, it was right from the beginning where we discussed, okay, we are an informal working group, but we need also something, a more formal collaboration to make our outcomes more sustainable and to put more pressure also at the government level for supporting open science. Here you can see the funding members of the Hellenic Open Science Initiative who have signed the Memorandum of Understanding. The initiative is open. More members are thinking to join. And here you can see the timeline of this activity, so how we started in November 18, and how within less than 4 years, we managed to have the official initiative in place running. I say we managed because it was really an effort that required time and required devotion. And as you can see, from September 2019 and on, we had in parallel the NIFOS Euro project. The NIFOS Euro project has one of its main aims is to establish national open science initiatives in the partner countries. So this activity has been very much supported by NIFOS Europe, both in terms of participation and in terms of contribution. In parallel to this, we had also the developments at the policy level and the governmental level. The Greek Digital Transformation Strategy, which has been published in June 2021. I'm saying in parallel because I believe that if all, and I'm putting a question mark in at the same time, because I believe if all other activities, the people who put this pressure and had, they self-organized and they published all this, published the plan and published announcements and invitations and all these things, they put a pressure also on the governance to do something. And the result was that the digital transformation, the updated digital transformation strategy has been published with these 7 core objectives. And in the digital transformation strategy, the open science has now found a place. it is there, but still we don't have a national open science strategy, for example. So it is acknowledged, but, and you see a number of things, as open science principles are acknowledged and are to be found in several parts of the strategy. The importance of connecting with European efforts, and especially with the European Open Science Cloud, is also mentioned, and this is very important. And actually, I forgot to mention previously, okay, I will have to rush. I forgot to mention previously that in the principles of the Hellenic Open Science Initiative, one of the principles is the alignment with EOSC and the making sure that the country has a national representation in EOSC, a mandated organization in EOSC, which is currently missing. So, and this brings us to the tripartite event, which are my last slides. It was an event where we had 40 participants on site and more than 150 online participants. We believe that all the Greek EOS ecosystem has been gathered. Greek and open science ecosystem has been gathered. Various profiles and various roles. Okay. The main discussion points, the main discussion topics, as you can see here. Some of them have been technical. For example, the trustworthy data sharing, the federation, what does federation Federation of Research Infrastructures under EOSC mean? But also, what are the expectations of the Greek community towards EOSC? What are the skills that are needed in the country? A lot of discussions about how we should further coordinate our efforts, and also several discussions how we can use this for the societal benefits. For example, there were a lot of people who said, how can we link this to the SDGs? We have a problem here, the climate crisis. So we need to use these infrastructures also for answering questions like this. Clustering the main takeaways of these meetings in 3 categories, I would say that for the open science and for the EOSC Association and the related stakeholders, people say that it is important that they follow the developments and they try to meet and to answer the technical and scientific expectations that the communities have. When it comes to the research communities, although they support the principle of openness, when it comes to the research data, we see a real problem there. Some of them don't want to share the data still, or many of them want to share the data, but they don't know how to do this, or they don't have the necessary support or the needed infrastructure to do this. And then the ministries or the public authorities, they understand the concept of openness, and they try to support this and to do more in this direction. But at least for our countries, we don't have the right framework to support the open science actors at all levels. And we also have the fragmentation issues in Greece, which you will see also in the next slides. And this is something that has been discussed very much. We have a very vivid EOS community in Greece, many projects, and this means not only projects in terms of a simple participation, but it means delivery of services and development of services for EOSC. And this is something we would like to build upon. So we say that in Greece, we have a highly committed community, and this is also expressed through the Hellenic Open Science Initiative. We have the national, the Digital Transformation Bible, and we need now to have this broken down into concrete tasks. We have no formal open science policy, so in Greece, open science is not yet the new norm, but we are working on this. So we need more collaboration. We need more qualified people. We need digital skills fit for the open science era. And we need funding for all these things, which has not been solved by the Digital Transformation Bible, but we hope it will be. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eleni. Perhaps you can also stay up there. Do we have a question for Eleni? So I have a question. So it's a great example where the tripartite event fits into what you did already with the open science events. So how do you plan this in the future? Do you foresee then next year something specific again on EOSC, or you rather would organize this in the context of open science in general?
Even before, even before next year, actually after the event, several people came and said we need to meet. And one of our intentions with this tripartite event is to give space, a lot of space, to the people active in the EOSC ecosystem. Because of all the need to discuss more the open science aspects, we didn't have really the time to discuss what is the services you deliver and what are the things that you do that fit in this ecosystem. So we are thinking of organizing a follow-up event, actually, something like a follow-up event, where we will focus only on EOSC-related aspects. So what is the EOSC ecosystem in Greece? What are the things that we are delivering? What are the things that we are doing? Because several people came and say, I'm part of this. I'm in a newly funded EOSC project, but I don't know what you are doing, so I don't want to duplicate efforts. Can we organize this somehow? And this is our next aim, let's say, to organize the efforts in a way that we also create economies of scale, because this is also important in open science. It's one of the things why we do open science.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, we move on to the next talk by Marko Drobnjak from Slovenia.
Okay, so hello everyone. I would like to thank to organizers and to all the presenters and talks. We definitely learned a lot, and we definitely foresees a lot of challenges in the future which should be addressed. My name is Marko, and I'm from ARNES, which stands for Academic and Research Network of Slovenia. ARNES is a public infrastructure institution that primarily provides network services to organizations in the field of research, education, and culture, enabling them to connect and collaborate with each other and with similar organizations abroad, especially in Europe. At the same time, ARNES manages many different services and is involved in the work of supercomputers as well as solutions related to the new repositories under the EOSC umbrella. Today's presentation will be divided into the 3 sections, which are actually also the time slots, and those are yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The black color is reserved for the yesterday slot and the gray for today's, while the orange is reserved for the tomorrow sections. In yesterday's segment, I will discuss all the existing repositories and the public research organization in Slovenia using them, and in today's segment, I will address the Slovenian research area through the perspective of legislation and resolution, which has passed in the 2021 and 2022. And in the last part, entitled Tomorrow, the activities and action plans of the Slovenian research community will follow. If you are interested in yesterday's segment, you obviously missed it, and if you're interested in today's part, you are in the right place. But since the focus is going to be on community action and the cooperation with EOSC, I will see you tomorrow, so thank you and see you tomorrow. But anyways, if we want to implement the integration of solutions in Slovenia as dictated by EOSC, we first need to have a superficial knowledge of what is happening in Slovenia right now. And in Slovenia, we already have more than 40 official repositories and a small sea of repositories that researchers have for internal use within their labs or under their desk, which is kind of a typical environment for the researchers. However, the note, Slovenia published a report, and this working group has identified more than 10 Slovenian repositories that meet the following condition. The first one was they are a national repository and not just partners in the infrastructure that offer and maintain a repository. The second criteria was they are already active, not just planned, under construction, or temporarily inactive. And so, as you can see, the key was actual activity of the repositories. And thirdly, they directly offer data to be available from their own storage, so it's not just a matter of collecting metadata or data from other repositories. And last but not least, they are repositories which offer at least some of the data in open access. But there is also a lot of data which is available only by the require or previous identification for a specific data part. And in terms of data storage, the Slovenian repository landscape is more than rich, as you can see. And what is the challenge for today? If you remember the timeline, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, in terms of openness, it is obvious what has been happening in the field of storage. What about the integration of open science in general? Here, I cannot pass Slovenian strategy of research and innovation and the law on scientific research and innovation activities. But firstly, in Slovenia, both research and infrastructure activities can be carried out by public organization as well by private organization with a public service concession. The key players at the level of science and research are obviously and undoubtedly the public research institutions, which are established by the ministry responsible for the science or by the Slovenian Academy of Science and Arts. And public institutions performs a public service, which is kind of obvious, and we have, as you can see on the left side, 19 such institutions in Slovenia, and of course, which should not be missed, research activities are also existing and are carried out at the universities, such as public universities or private universities. We have, on the one hand, University of Ljubljana, University of Maribor, University of Primorska, University of Nova Gorica, and so on, and which are all of them, the public research institution, the individuals as well, universities are also actors representing existing or future members of the Slovenian open science community and are the producers of the research data, some of which have publicly accessible repositories as we've seen, and others are more closed. As the research activity in Slovenia is richly developed, it is expected that the research and innovation strategy will also consider this. And if we look at in this strategy document, we can see the following. The Resolution on Scientific Research and Innovation Strategy of Slovenia 2030 was accepted in this year and foresees many features on this topic. The first of the action is open science for improving what? Research quality, efficiency, and responsiveness. The aim is to manage the development of national ecosystem of open science and all important infrastructure that needs to be embedded in the international environment, which is obviously EOSC. The second action foresees modern approach to evaluating the scientific research activities in the way that will put the role of open science at the forefront. The third action ensures that research results align with the FAIR principles, and the fourth action is establishing a Slovenian open science community. As you will see, this objective has already been achieved, and as many of you witnessed it at the tripartite event in Ljubljana. And then there are also measures such as, I don't know, a promoting of citizen science and publishing at the national level, and so on. And of course, there is also another very important document with a similar content that needs to be presented right now. It is, in fact, a legal framework that, in dedicated article, provides a guarantees actions toward open science. The law defines open science as the Slovenian legislator sees it, but at the same time, this definition is based on existing international examples. The law also allows science evaluation to be adopted by the new reality, which is open science. It also provides for research funding to be conditional on the principles of fair and open science, and for funding to be channeled through the component ministry and through the public research agency of Republic of Slovenia. And now, for the last action of this day, before we enter the tomorrow's part, as part of the 13th anniversary of Arnes, the Slovenian Open Science community was established at the Knowledge Network Conference as part of the Open Science Day 2 months ago. I believe that it was 2 months ago. But what awaits us tomorrow, and how we can see Slovenian open science community as an unwritten piece of paper. In this section, I will briefly and shortly present 7 challenges for better tomorrow, which are part of the 4 seen tasks of the Slovenian open science community. The first solution will enable what? Research, Slovenian research to access, storage, manage, analyze, and reuse research results and research data. The second solution will allow the creation of network of stakeholders involved in the developing open science in Slovenia as providers of service, tools, and infrastructure. The third solution will enable the development of infrastructure and their integration in the European and international research infrastructure. And the fourth will bring together research through all of the steps mentioned before, which are services, tools, infrastructure, data storage, through different aspects of scales and applications areas to share resources and services for developing new innovative technologies on the one side, and on the other side to be productive for the economic benefits as well. The fifth foresees cooperation to support fair and open science and the implementation of these standards to all of the public research institutions in Slovenia. And the sixth expects participation of all the members into and give them an opportunity to participate in different areas, since, as we've seen at the beginning, Arnes is also part of the supercomputing network, academic networks, and enables a lot of different ICT tools. And the last one of the goal of the community is also to represent the interest of the component Ministry of Science and other relevant authorities and European bodies in the field of open science. Following the presentation, you should realize that I have outlined 7 challenges and 7 solutions that Slovenian open science community will address in future, and now is the right moment to end the presentation with a magic shot from a step back. For all sport enthusiasts, you should recall Slovenian super athlete and NBL All-Star basketball player Luka Doncic, which is perfectly fine since I have talked about 7 challenges and 7 solutions. And right now, for the part of the conclusion, as we already seen in the presentation, on the one hand, we have a multitude of repositories already in operation, and on the other hand, research organization carrying out the scientific research activities. The Slovenian open science community will play a bridging role between them, with open science as the common thread. And to sum up, we aim to develop a superior and professional service supported by a sophisticated data center. This service will be developed in dialogue, which is one of the things that we learn on this symposium, with all of the relevant stakeholders, and facilitate the research community's work. Behind the scenes, we will definitely try to implement the APA to monitor the implementation of FAIR principles and the ability to integrate it into the EOSC ecosystem in the user-friendly role and in the user-friendly way. We are also discussing about data visualization, permanent storage, and so on. And open science, as you can see, is finally becoming a new normal. Open science is a public good, and data allows us to learn and develop society. So thank you, and I will end the presentation right here.
Thank you, Marco, for this interesting view onto the Slovenian landscape. Question, comments from the audience? You was already sitting. So you showed us the large number of repositories, but in principle you have like 3 really trusted repositories. Is there a plan how to move forward with the other 30+ repositories? Do you plan to make them, to transform them also into trusted repositories, or to integrate them in trusted repositories?
Yeah, we will try to develop the right approach for addressing these kind of challenges, because we have to know that we should learn from those who already are doing the things right, and we will definitely build up some kind of network for education, to educate researchers how to approach these challenges, and which means what? We also plan a meeting of the Slovenian open science community, and we will also highlight these kind of things to build the right approach for the challenges. As you can see, there is many of them.
Thank you. Giorgio?
Yes, along this line, is this choice of 3 national repositories coming out from an energy analysis also, from an overall cost of maintaining data in an efficient way?
Yeah, the source was RDA note report about the repositories, and I highlighted these things just to give us some kind of monitoring of the existing things that are going on, because we all know that the data is almost everywhere and all of the researchers are trying to do something with their data. But if we want to monitor and build an index of these kind of repositories, we have to, I don't know, develop a service, and this type of service was already right there between the Slovenian community, and this is one of the reasons why I picked it up and present it right here, because one of the keywords at these symposiums were, I don't know, repositories, data storage, and stuff like that.
Thank you. Other questions? If not, we move on to Marina Razmaze of Georgia.
Good morning, dear guests, dear participants. I'm Marina Razmadze from Georgia, and today I will speak partially on behalf of the Ministry of Education and Science in Georgia, and as well from the perspective of the Georgia view, how Georgia contributes and what kind of results we have at the national level in context of implementation of EOSC and integration with the global open science policy. So before I move to my presentation, I would like to express my great gratitude to the RDA, to the EOSC Future team, that they invited me to this event, as well to the EOSC Association and Steering Board that they accepted our talk. And it is a great pleasure for us to present here our humble experience of Georgia, what we did, and what kind of insights we have in future. So let me briefly say a couple of words in context of the cooperation of Georgia in EU research and innovation framework program. So since Georgia was included in the European Neighborhood Policy since 2004, as well Georgia is a member of the Eastern Partnership since 2014. Since 2016 was associated to the Horizon 2020 program, and it really was an important milestone in field of cooperation in research and innovation fields with the EU. In 2018, the policy support facility provided specific support to Georgia in 3 focus areas, and since that period, Georgia's research and innovation system undergone some big changes at that moment. And since 2021, we fully associated member with the Horizon Europe. And it's a very big achievement for us and for whole community of scientific community of Georgia. And let me just share with you our success story in this regard, because Yes. So we, as I mentioned, we joined this global initiative, and we signed the association memorandum with. We are associated with the Horizon Europe program since 2021, and after this, Georgia implements some strong steps on the national level, and we establish by the fully support of Ministry of Education and Science, we established the Horizon National Office, and we established the strong network of national contact points, of program committee members, as well as the institutional research, institutional grant offices. And all it works very successfully and brought us a big popularity in the region. And in regard of this, in October, our curator from the EU and some representatives from the Ministry of Education from Republic of Moldova and Republic of Moldova and Armenia will visit us and ask us about what we did, how we engaged our stakeholders to benefit from this Horizon Europe program. And really within this 1 year, we made a lot of activities in this context and received a big success. Yes, it is in numbers. In numbers, you can see just our target audience. Now we have the 47 higher education institutions, which and there is already established grant offices, institutional grant offices. But at the moment, there is only 14 institutional grant offices, 20 universities where there is no grant offices, but we communicate with these universities as well, and 13 research institutions, national centers, which are fully independent organizations. So here you can see as well as a communication flow structure, but let me say a couple of words about that. So we started our activities, real activities, in context of implementation of integration of Georgia in EOSC since 2021. We are on the very beginning stage, let's say. So since 2021, the Ministry of Education and Science of Georgia implemented relevant activities in order to accelerate integration, scientific ecosystem of Georgia with the European structure and the development of open science. And two from 7 guiding principles and values of 2020 to 2030. In the United Nations Strategy of Education and Science of Georgia are directly connected to the ambition of the EOSC, provide a federated and open multidisciplinary environment. And these principles are shown. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not. Okay, I'm very sorry. Yeah, and these principles are indicated on the slide. So there's a principle of open communication, transparency, cooperation and partnership are encouraged in education and training, as well as research and innovation systems. These principles are applied in a cooperation with stakeholders and in general for the further development of society and economy. Open learning environments and research and innovation ecosystems allow individuals to learn, teach, train, develop, and thereby contribute to achieving common goals. Additionally, from 2021, some additions were made in the National Science Research Program by the Ministry of Education and Science, and there is increased the scientific productivity of independent science research units and the scientific and research institutions, which are today is a part of the Ministry of Education and Science, creating the single platform database, including the projects implemented within a framework of grants financed by local or international donors. We should collect, till the end of the year, we have the collection of more than last 20 years published publications and existing research infrastructures. And even the commitment of Georgia to the European Research Area Forum for the action number 1 enables the open sharing of knowledge and... Yes? Oh, no, yeah. I'm sorry, yes. So is the commitment of Georgia to the European Research Area Forum, as I mentioned, that action number 1 enables the open science sharing of knowledge and reuse of research outputs, including through the development of European Open Science Cloud submitted in July, further underline the importance of the EOSC in the country. By the way, we had as I mentioned, we started our activities since 2021 of December, and very recently in August of 2022, we had a EOSC national working group. We established this EOSC national group named EOSC Ambassadors, and this group really today will curate the open science strategy at the national level and research infrastructures compatible with the European Open Science Cloud. The establishment of this national working group was fully supported by the Ministry of Education and Sciences, and currently involved more than 15 members. In October, one of the recent activities that in October is a framework of EU twinning projects supporting intersectoral collaboration possibilities between research and industry, training regarding this development of national open science strategy and policy was, we discussed about this a lot, and we heard very practical notes and good examples of from Austria and from the France. As well, and in November we held a three-party meeting, national three-party meeting with the support of EOSC Association and Steering Board, and I will say about it a little bit in details, but before, let me just share a humble experience of Georgian organizations which already have some contribution in the process of the integration of Georgia to EOSC and integration of Georgia to the global open science movement. You can see on the slides several logos of these organizations, and I will speak a little more about them. So Georgian Research and Education Networking Association, GRENA, is one of the leading organizations today in Georgia, which provides IT services at the national level and cloud services as well, and it provides all the services on the basis of its own infrastructure. And today it's cooperates with more than 150 organizations in Georgia and supports them with IT services. Even in context of EOSC, this organization was the first one who brought the concept of the EOSC in Georgia, and we start to talk about it. And the first just activities was the GRENA participated in the national initiative of open science in Europe. This organization This organization participates in dissemination events, training, support different type of stakeholders to provide response on developed survey for this national initiative of Open Science Europe project. And in November 2021, gaining experience from these dissemination events and made some dissemination events at the national level as well, they developed the MOE, and this MOE is signed by 16 organizations today. It means that these 16 organizations at the national level express their interest to contribute to the process of development EOSC at the national level. As well, GRENA participate in the EOSC Task Force Financial Sustainability. GRENA is integrated in the EOSC marketplace resources and maintain G-Cloud is an infrastructure as a service platform which with wide range of applications today, and even GRENA supported 2 national organizations to integrate to the EOSC. And one of this organization is Beritashvili Center of Experimental Biomedicine, and this EE Hub G is a repository which is maintain some different information about some neurological and other types of these functions, and this database was integrated and uploaded to the EOSC. As well as another organization which was supported to integrate to the EOSC is the National Science Library. It is one of the big libraries at the national level today, which main purpose is to develop more repositories and integrate them to the European Open Science Cloud. And another organization which I representing as well today is the Institute for Scientific and Technical Information. It is a multidisciplinary organization, and today this organization works directly with the scientists and disseminate, maintain, and develop several databases on the national level. As I told you, it is a multidisciplinary organization, and agriculture is one of the direction where we have most comprehensive resulting in the context of open science and participating in European open science projects. So AGRIS, I will say very shortly. So AGRIS is let's say it's one of the domain-specific open science platform which we contribute since 2000 year, and in 2020 we became a country hub. And as a country hub, we not only contribute today with the publications, data sets, and even gray literature to this platform, but we have an opportunity to disseminate, to conduct capacity building awareness trainings in open science for agriculture domains. As well, they create for us. Yes, it was supported by the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, and they created for us knowledge sharing platform on their webpage where we share all activities, all planned or already conducted at the national level. We share through this knowledge sharing platform and this profile. We share all these activities which are going to implement at the national level, and as well we participated in the annual meetings organized by this organization, and I would like to, and it is really a great achievement for us that be among 150 countries, Georgia became the first country hub, and after us was the Republic of Moldova. And today we play like role as an example for other countries, and we conduct many meetings with other countries how to implement country hub, how to become a country hub. So this country hub strives to share knowledge openly and discuss fair and conduct fair discussions. One important thing which I would mention as well, at the national level, we have a Georgian Terminology Association, which was developed since 2014, and our institute, with the Institute of Linguistics, contribute to this process, and we created at the national level Georgian Terminology Bank, and this bank is fully supported by most of European societies, terminology societies, like the Association of European Terminology Society, Terminology Coordination, European Parliament, and Infoterm. So today we can consider this as a classical national open infrastructure which will in future contribute, implement, and will be integrated in the European Terminology Bank. Yes, some current engagements. Cooperating with the FAO, we gained one grant consolidating the AGRIS National Hub in Georgia to increase awareness about open science in agriculture and train researchers. And in this regard, we already conducted more than 10 awareness capacity building event, awareness trainings about fair data, about open science, but in the field of agriculture. And we guess that in future we will use this this example and spread it to the other science directions as well. From August we joined the European Open Science Cloud Future Project, focused on the we joined the European Open Science Future Project and focused on the community of practice and coordinated through the Research Data Alliance. And this is expanding EGAT, the community of practice, and EOSC in the South Caucasus region. Just in case, I hope that everybody knows, but EGAT is the interest group on agriculture data. As I already mentioned, that this direction is one of the directions of our institute, and we have here most comprehensive results. And yes, we joined this project. What I would like to say is that yes, now let me move to the some results from the three-party meetings. And I would like to mention and underline that this three-party meeting gave us an opportunity to all these three organizations to meet each other at the one table and share our already gained experience by ourselves. And by the way, by numbers, if we look to the statistic, total number of registered participants for our three-party meeting, which were held just 2 weeks ago, it was 180 participants, and you can read it from the slide, some statistics. But results of what the main results we received from this three-party event, that so we received again and was highlighted by the Ministry of Education and Science, because they support this meeting, and they highlighted the importance of such kind of meeting at the national level, as well the Education and Science Committee supported us, and we really received a very big support from the at the national level for conducting in future more capacity building at such kind of events. As well, I would like to express my gratitude to our contributors. It's President of the EOSC Association, Mr. Karol, and representative from the EU Commission, Pantelis. They contribute to our event and really gave us very important messages, how we should, what kind of steps we should overcome, and what kind of obstacles we should overcome at the national level in order to integrate to the EOSC. Sarah Caravelli, yes, she contributes a lot, and she expressed her and shared her success story in context of the Finnish forum, our trainers as well. And so totally, finally, I would like to say that 2 events was attended by more than 180 participants. There was representatives of national funding organizations, research performing organizations, different stakeholders, and you know, it was the first time such kind of meeting in context of open dialogue between policymakers and between policymakers and different stakeholders. And I would, as one of the participants, Mr. Pantelis, told during his presentation, so EOSC will be success if and only if it follows a multi-stakeholder approach. And we are looking forward to continue such kind of activities at the national level. Yes, and finally, we have some present plans. In December, we are going to organize some national forum on open science and cooperate and sit closely with all stakeholders and put on the table some draft version of recommendation, which we are already in the process of preparation in context of development of open science strategy and integration of Georgia in European Open Science Cloud. Of of course, we have challenges, and you can read them from the slide. And vision for the future that in 2023, our intention is to develop a single national platform, let's call it EOSC, and establish the National European Open Science Association, and with this association, become a mandated member of the European of the EOSC Association. So thank you for your attention. Sorry if it belongs too much. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm ready for your any comments and for questions from your side.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Karel.
Marina, thank you for a nice presentation. You're moving really fast. You're already talking about December, and you only started in 2021, basically, as you said. There's a lot of history and background in the things you're doing. How do you keep everybody together in such a fast pace? I mean, there's many parties involved in a country like yours. So what do you do in coordination terms in order to get everybody get their nose in the same direction?
Thank you. So as I mentioned, really we established these real activities, and we started these real activities since August of 2021, you know, and this national initiative group, Open Science Group, was established in August, and it's a group of very motivated people, young people, represented from the research centers, from the educational, from the grant offices as well, Horizon Open grant offices. So they help us to collect, and with joint forces, we engage all stakeholders coming from the researchers and from the PhD students, master students, as well with from private companies. So they help us, these 15 persons, with support of the Ministry of Education of Science as well. We overcome this in a very small, in a very short time. So yes, and I really believe that as we have already some success story in context of Horizon, establishment of Horizon Europe national office, and within 1 year we really received good results. I think that in 1 year, after 1 year, we could overcome all national barriers, and we will present some more example success stories in context of implementation, Georgia, to the European Open Science Cloud. Yes.
Thank you. And we go to our next speaker. Helen Clare is going to talk from the point of view of the EOSC Association Task Force on Upskilling.
Morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting the task force to present the session today. I'm Helen Clare from JISC in the UK, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Upskilling Countries to Engage in EOSC task force. I'm here to present on behalf of our members. We have several members in the audience, including our chair, Jessica Linville, right at the back there. It's been fascinating to hear the different speakers today. I was privileged enough to contribute to the Georgian tripartite event, and it's great to hear the different experiences, although I'm not sure how well land of repositories will work as a tourist marketing strategy within Slovenia. So in terms of our task force, we do have a full member list on the website, but please note that if you go to our website, the charter that we have is not currently up to date, and I'll explain. It's been revised over the history of the task force in order to align with existing activities. So I will say a few words about the task force, and then I'll go on to address the question that we've been asked today, which is looking at the value of the tripartite events. So, in terms of our task force, yeah, we are one of the 13 task forces created by the EOSC Association, which Carol described on Tuesday, described the task forces as the brain trusts of the EOSC Association. So our task force aims to raise awareness and engagement of EOSC at a national level, but we also do recognise the role of domains because we have several members of our task force who work in domains in their countries as well. We have 25 members from 16 countries, but we would very much love to have more representation, so please do get in touch if you're interested, and particularly we don't have representatives from the 3 countries who've spoken here today. Before I go any further, I do want to clarify what we mean by upskilling, and this has evolved since the start of the task force. When we talk about upskilling countries as opposed to upskilling people, we're not just talking about skills. This is about identifying whatever needs to be addressed in that particular country in order to better engage with EOSC. So this could be skills, but it could be policy, it could be infrastructure, it could be funding. So in a sense, within our task force, we actually have over 16 different tasks because we're working within each of our countries. In terms of our activities, in a little more detail, our task, as we saw previously, is to support existing initiatives in our nations and domains. While there is a lot of progress being made, engagement is variable, and even in countries where there is a lot of engagement, every contribution helps, I think, because EOSC implementation is complex and ambitious. So we do have a very active focus. We're focusing on upskilling. We're not just gathering information. We know that is happening elsewhere in EOSC projects and initiatives. So our focus is very active in terms of proving that engagement. We want to share between our members so we can take these ideas back to our own nations. And in a way, we mirror the activities of the tripartite organisations in this respect, but we are very much more on-the-ground ambassadors for EOSC, people who are passionate about promoting open science. And in a way, perhaps we can be a little more agile and flexible because we don't have the rules, the processes and the procedures of the tripartite to abide by. In terms of our activities, so we were a little later than others starting because we did spend some time reviewing other initiatives and projects to ensure that we didn't overlap. And in that time, since February that we started, we've had several meetings where we all share the various initiatives in our countries and we learn from each other, we ask questions, we try to take, as the previous speakers have said, take what works in other countries and see how it can apply to ours. So it's very much like this session, in fact. So if you enjoyed this session, please do think about joining our task force. We are also working with EOS Focus to contribute to the national pages that are in development. And as I mentioned earlier, we've also produced our new charter. So the reason we are here today is that we did offer, in our role in supporting and assisting, we offered to support this session. We noticed it was on the schedule and said, can our task force support this? And we were invited to come along to give our view on the input on the tripartite events, how we see the value of these events and what advice and thoughts we would like to bring to your attention. So we asked the whole task force for input, and I've pulled this together into 4 general areas. I won't be naming countries in this aggregate view because we wanted people to be able to be honest and share their opinions. So in terms of what I will be presenting over the next few slides, there are comments from countries who have had tripartite events, those who hope to have them. We've also had suggestions for improving the events themselves, and then also suggestions on how we can build momentum following these events. And we definitely acknowledge that a lot of what we're saying here is not new. It is known, but it's just reinforcing that these are the views from our task force, and we know that a lot of this might already be being addressed. So in terms of the value of the tripartite events, as many of the previous speakers have mentioned, these can provide a focus for discussion around open science, so bringing much needed attention to open science. Many existing initiatives will be able to raise their profile at this event, and it provided these events provide an initial step towards EOSC. And we've heard from members that discussion about EOSC is definitely increased following these tripartite events. People want to know what it is and how they can get involved. These events also allowed, certainly the ones that obviously had different countries involved or speakers from other countries, it allowed the opportunity to share different viewpoints from countries who were at different stages in their progression towards open science and that had different perspectives. And in some occasions, it enabled collaboration between countries that perhaps, even though they geographically might be relatively close, did not necessarily have a history of collaboration. They also provided a focus for discussion, not only for the events, at the events when they happen, but for those of us on the task force who are trying to engage in our countries and promote EOSC, it's good to have a reason to talk to people, a goal to work towards, to say, well, could we try and run one of these events in our country? It was a reason to start approaching our ministries and funders. As I mentioned, not all of our members have actually been involved in tripartite events in their countries, so we asked our members what they hope to achieve by these events. And some of them, similar, I guess, in the way to what was mentioned by Eleni with Greece, that they have action plans, but they haven't yet been implemented or turned into policy in their countries. So, and indeed, perhaps not to action as well. So some countries really want these events to provide a forum to convert plans to action. As I mentioned, we want our countries to learn from other countries. There's perhaps a little bit of competition there, who knows? So you can see that you might want to improve what you're doing in other countries or be inspired by other countries. We also saw a role to showcase bottom-up initiatives. In a lot of countries, the move towards open science is a bottom-up initiative, and the tripartite events provide a forum to showcase these initiatives and demonstrate their value. But also these opportunities, again, these workshops do provide the opportunity to demonstrate the value of EOSC to policymakers. We had some feedback about how to improve the events, and obviously this will vary depending on the country that this came from. Some countries said they wished they had involved researchers more, so had some practical examples of the benefits and how they can get involved in EOSC, perhaps through a separate strand of discussion. An interesting point here, which I think is quite a tricky one to address, is how to ensure meaningful discussion happens at these events. So they don't just end up, every country wants to showcase how great they are at a particular aspect of open science. How do we have open and honest conversations about improvement? And then we had some practical comments about just ensuring enough time. Some of these events are just one day and felt that that wasn't necessarily enough. Some of these events weren't able to get the right stakeholders in the room, so some of the conversations weren't able to happen as fruitfully as they might otherwise. And some practical issues about communication and particularly notice. You need to have enough notice to get people able to attend the events. So in terms of beyond the events, a few tips and hints from our task force members. We had some feedback that they wanted to be careful about not over-EOSCing. So there might have been national events previously, so they're waiting a little while before we have a tripartite event specifically focusing on EOSC. There was a suggestion that we do need to educate and support advocates, such as our task force members, so they feel prepared and confident to go and talk to their funders and ministries about advocating for EOSC. We wondered whether there could be things like models and checklists and tools, perhaps based on some of the information that's coming out of the EOSC Observatory, that countries could use to say, where are we on this journey? Although we do have to acknowledge that every country has a different journey. Tips on collaboration and policy work, ensuring that there is follow-up and continuation work. We do obviously know a lot of this work is happening, and certainly in terms of sharing practice, I heard about the EOSC observatories and their plans for the best practice catalogue. So I guess we just want to make sure and remember that our task force is here, and no matter what activities you're doing, we are here to support you. So to finish up, I just wanted to highlight this photograph, partly because I'm very proud of it. I took this at sunrise on Monday morning. It was the only opportunity I was going to get to see Prague. And But somebody, and it was actually one of our task force members, Milena Dobreva, has actually taken this photograph and used it in one of her write-ups of an event, of a session at the forum, at the symposium. It was about the EOSC and data spaces. And she said that she found this to be actually quite a symbolic picture, that EOSC is paving the road for open science connectivity to data spaces. But at this time, we're still in a little bit of fog. And I think we all feel a bit like that about EOSC. But I think we have the road, we have the people, and we're working together at different levels in our countries to achieve that aim. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Questions for Helen? So then I think as time is advancing, so I would like to ask some general questions, but I would also invite you if you have a question for this panel. So my first question would be the role of mandated organizations. The mandated organizations, they represent the country's interest at the association level, but they sometimes also have a role in the countries in fostering discussion, organizing events, and making this happen. How do you see this in your countries? I know that I think only one country, only Slovenia has a mandated organization. Is this correct? Yes. So that would also be the opportunity to say if you have plans to assign somebody.
Yes. So in Greece, we don't have a mandated organization. As I said in our Memorandum of Understanding of the Hellenic Open Science Initiative, we clearly say that one of our aims is to establish a mandated organization for Greece, and we also foresee the process how to run this organization in case it is one of the members of the initiative. The reason why we believe it is useful to have the organization is not only for representing the countries in interest in EOSC, but because we also believe that this will trigger developments within the country. This will help us, for example, to specify further the open science principles and our open science plan, and turn this open science plan into concrete actions and into concrete policies, things that we are in the beginning, but this is still missing. So we see the value of the mandated organization not only towards EOSC representation, but also within the country to coordinate efforts at a different level from what we currently do, because we coordinate with the initiative, but we believe the policy coordination is also important.
Thank you. Marco, as you have a mandated organization, is there a special role for this organization in the alignment inside Slovenia?
Yeah, we have a lot of goals to achieve. I briefly presented some of them in my presentation, but one which should be also highlighted is this one. As the Slovenian Open Society Association, we should connect people together, and I think Georgia already did an amazing job because they know how to motivate people to actually participate in their organization, while on the other hand, when we are talking about this kind of community will help to connect people with each other, and we have a different level of seniorities or different level of experiences with open science or open data in this community, which means that the ones who are already into it will help us to transform knowledge to the ones who are just, sit right next to them in this train towards the open science. And on the other hand, this community will also help to be some kind of transformer and some kind of a bridge between the EOSC and the whole society, because we have to be aware that on the one hand there is going to be, at least at the beginning, overburdening of the researchers, because there is going to be at least a little bit more work to do to, correctly manage all of the data management plans, and on the other hand we have to give them some kind of, feedback or some kind of achievement for doing it, by providing the storage place, or by providing the research courses, or by giving them funds for implementing the fair things. So I think that community is the right approach, because it connects all of the actors together, and those are not only actors from the research community. Those are also actors from the ministry, and our ministry is already so into the open science, which, I don't know, the strategy and also the law confirms.
Helen, you saw several tripartite events. What did you see as the role of the mandated organizations, the national initiatives in these events? Did you see them as a driving force there?
I think it's variable, but generally I think yes. I've just been involved in the Georgian event so far. That's only, and I have to say, in our feedback, nobody particularly focused on the role of the mandated organisation from other task force members, but we do have some in the audience, so they may wish to comment. In terms of, so we just have a couple of, just in terms of the UK, I was hoping you weren't going to ask me. Obviously, we don't have a mandated organisation in the UK, but I think one, and that is proving obviously challenging because, as we talked about yesterday, communication channels are difficult because we don't have that route. But that's one of the reasons I value this task force, I think, is because I can get a mandate with a small m, not a capital one, to go back to the UK and try and continue conversations. But I think we had some hands up about...
Oh, no, Ute was first, I think. No? Karel was first?
And maybe it's good to explain what a mandated organization is, Volker, because not everybody in the room may be familiar with the concept. Huh? The countries have institutions and, let's say, research funding, research performing, service providing organizations that are member of EOSC association. And the country, the government of the country can then appoint one of those organizations, if they are a member, to become what is called a mandated organization. And from such a mandated organization in that country, something specific is asked to do, let's say, more in the coordination in the country towards the development of EOSC. By the way, in the next session, we will have a speaker from a mandated organization about what they are doing.
Thank you. And that I saw another hand here. Ute.
Yeah, just to give the credit also to the people who have organized those tripartite events, because that was a very, very strong collaboration between the steering board, between the mandated organizations, and they played a crucial role in making it happen and put a lot of effort basically on themselves to organize it in their countries. So I think we should really value their buy-in into that, and also adhering to the charter we have developed jointly for the mandated organization earlier this year, where we said they have a bi-directional role towards the constituency in their countries. So I think, we very much appreciate and value what they have done.
They were maybe not always as visible during the event itself, but they were definitely very influential in getting it organized.
So thank you. Yes.
Claire Cliva from the Task Force Upscaling Countries. So we had several presentations of countries in the last months in our task force, and I think that regarding the mandated organization question, the major part of the countries have established an organization to become the mandated organizations. And I think it's a good way because it will show the structural power of EOSC to take together all the actors in EOSC, in open science. And for me, personally, it sounds better to have a collective organization as mandated organization rather than to choose one in a country. That is always a difficult point, of course.
Thank you. Marina, as you said, you are going to have a mandated organization. You can already say who this is going to be?
So, at the moment, we consider the two options, how we are going to be mandated in EOSC association. So, as I mentioned during my presentation, we already have MOE, which is signed by, at the national level, which is signed by 16 organizations, which express huge interest in future, in contribute to and implement the EOSC at the national level. So the one scheme, we consider that this alliance of these peoples will be considered as a one organization who will be as a mandated member of EOSC association. So we will create some national EOSC association which will, and many stakeholders will be involved in this EOSC, national EOSC association. And with this EOSC association, national, we will participate and express our intention to participate to the EOSC mandated, as an EOSC mandated member. This is a one scheme which is considered at the moment at the national level. But in December we will have the forum, as I mentioned, Open Science Forum, and we will have a very deep conversation and discussion in this regard. And I think at the end of the year we will have a more clear picture how we see which organization we will join this initiative. So today we all agree that without open science we could not, we will not be able to reach the main challenges of the world. So it is during these 3 days I was very inspired with very impressive and very interesting sessions, and I will bring it to the Georgia, all these examples. And yes, I think that with additional support from the EU as well at the national level, we will overcome very, very soon these barriers, and we will learn from all best practices which we heard during this symposium. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take the opportunity that we have somebody from the UK here. For a country outside the member states, associated countries of Horizon Europe, what are there strategies to align with EOSC, or to, even if it's not called EOSC, but there must be something in the UK to continue the successful work you did until very recently inside the EOSC frame?
Yeah, not asking me an easy question. I mean, I was also part of the EOSC Synergy project, which we'll be talking about regional approaches, and I think there's a lot of overlap in the next session. And I was involved in the policy report. And we did approach sort of funders to get comments. And at the moment, the position was positive, that we're still committed to international collaboration. And I think certainly on the technical front, you know, in terms of the infrastructure, we're still involved with international organizations such as GÉANT, and there are many UK representatives in projects. We're managing it, despite the red tape. We're managing it. So yes, I think we are sort of managing to keep in touch, and hopefully we will carry on. But unfortunately, the political situation, as you know, we've had quite a lot of turnover of prime ministers, never mind science ministers. So it's quite hard at the moment. So.
So you probably are aware that Switzerland organized EOSC event, and I found this very, very encouraging and a very good sign. Is something like this perhaps possible in the UK?
I hope so. That's it's come back to what I said earlier. It's good to have a reason to go to our organisations to say we want to do something, rather than just saying, do you want to get involved in this big thing called EOSC that we all still struggle sometimes to explain. So it's good now to be able to say, for example, could we run an event where we can discuss some of these issues, and also the observatory. That's another area. It would be fantastic if we could somehow get the UK to contribute data to the observatory as well. So yes, I hope so, but I will do my best.
Okay. On this optimistic note, let's thank all our... Yeah, Eleni, short.
I want to add something, although I have not been asked. I'm sorry for this. But, okay, I can't help, because in the 3 country presentations, I was very happy to see that in all 3, our project, NIFOS Europe, has been mentioned. And I want to say this in relation to the mandated organizations. The mandated organizations are absolutely necessary, but what is also necessary is the researcher networks in the country, and otherwise, you will have a mandated organization and you will not have the people with whom they can work. So I have to say that on the example of Georgia, we very much work in the direction of promoting, of understanding what you said in the beginning. We aim at EOSC alignment, but we understand the national priorities in the national context. And this is how we worked in our region to build the national initiative. And that's why we provided models on how to establish. We provided MOUs. We worked together. Ramaz is here, who worked intensively on the Georgian MOU. So we said, this is a framework. This is a methodology. This is a box. Pick up the elements that are okay for you to set up your initiative and set up the initiative in the way that fits your needs, your country needs, and your community needs. And I think this is a very big achievement of the regional project, and it's something that really contributed with tangible results, at least for our region, to the EOSC engagement and the EOSC inclusion. And I'm sorry that we will end in February and we cannot continue this activity, but we'll find other ways to do this. And that's why we set up these national open science initiatives in our region, and we aim to make them sustainable, in addition to the mandated organizations.
Thank you. Let's thank all the speakers. And thank you all for showing up this morning here. And now you deserve a coffee break. And we continue at 11 in the various groups.